The Chinese Mafia can safely be called the most oppressed criminal organization in the world. For talking about triads in China, you can get a full term, and for membership or cooperation, you can get under the article of capital punishment. At the same time, methods of struggle that are unacceptable all over the world have been legally used against gang members for more than 70 years, and the ordinary population is afraid and dislikes their mafia, which is why the fight against the activities of criminals is tough and effective. But how did it happen that the Chinese hate their mafia so much? Today we will talk about the history of Chinese triads. There is a legend according to which the first triad was created more than 2,500 years ago. According to this story, a long time ago, the monks returned from a pilgrimage and found the remains of their temple, which was destroyed. The monks decided to take revenge on the offender and created the Earth Skyman organization, which later became the criminal organization of the Triad. However, the official version, in my opinion, is much more plausible. Chinese triads first appeared in the 19th century, during the reign of China's last Qing dynasty. At that time, the ruling strata of the population were mired in corruption and nepotism, and ordinary citizens suffered from lawlessness and extortion. During these years, the first criminal organizations began to appear, providing protection from brazen officials. These gangs consisted of ruined peasants and military deserters who fled en masse from the starving army. Since injustice reigned throughout China, such gangs appeared everywhere, and later began to unite into larger organizations. The large scope and Confucian-based strict subordination with discipline allowed the factions to quickly grow in strength and influence. It was best to make a profit on the smuggling of European goods, especially banned poppy products, during the time of their ban. However, although large groups were at enmity, they had a common feature: they all hated the current regime. Therefore, having gained good capital and influence, the triads began to help all kinds of revolutionaries, typings, boxers, and so on. This conflict ended with the fall of the empire and a further period of chaos. The fall of the Qing Empire led to the split of China into numerous regions, in which military commanders held power. During these years, the triads come out of the shadows and begin vigorous activity. First of all, it is worth saying that some field commanders who held the regions were the bosses of the triads. While the period of militarists was going on in the country, and even after the formal unification of everyone into a republic, the Chinese Mafia is doing things on a huge scale. The triads get into politics, crush industry to avoid the rise of the communists, and also trade with Japan, supplying entire ships with resources and people. In short, during these years, the Chinese Mafia becomes hated by civilians, but the huge influence and some political protection allow the groups not to be afraid of the lower strata. This state of affairs continues until the beginning of the Communist Revolution. The Chinese Communist Party begins a conflict not only with the Republic, but also with the triads. Mao's people organize purges in the occupied territories, eliminating any secret and criminal societies. After the defeat of the Republic, the remnants of the triads, together with the Republicans, flee to Taiwan, Hong Kong, and other territories under the wing of foreigners. Attempts to return to the continent, at first, will be extremely unsuccessful due to constant persecution and general hatred, reinforced by propaganda. During the years of Mao's rule and after his death, any suspicion of triad links will be severely punished, and the most severe penalties will be applied to gang members. The Chinese Mafia has a very intricate and secretive organization based on Confucian tenets and steeped in tradition. All ranks are encrypted with a set of numbers or nicknames, as well as a system of tattoos, the number of which reflects the position and merger with the brotherhood. The highest in rank clog up a significant part of the body and are rarely shown in public, while the lowest, on the contrary, do not have visible tattoos. The attitude towards tattoos in China is quite strict, because their stuffing on visible parts of the body is the lot of only important members of groups. The main activity of the Chinese Mafia turns on its main bases, Taiwan and Hong Kong. Here, the triads have great power and people in the government, which allows them to make big deals in the regions. In mainland China, the Mafia is also present, but usually operates on a small scale for fear of attracting attention. Activities abroad have a decent scale. First of all, this is cooperation with the DPRK, where the triads often act as an intermediary. A significant part of trade with South Korea and Japan passes through large organizations. Also, triads operate in all countries where there are many ethnic Chinese, which is not surprising. To date, much more is known about the activities of triads abroad than in their native country. The Chinese Mafia can feel confident only in semi-independent regions, where they have long taken root and even have merits before the local elites. It is difficult to return influence on the continent, since the population has not yet departed from the ideas of communism and is afraid of crime like fire, which is generally correct. Could China today become the main exporter of goods to the world market if the Mafia ruled on its territory?